Awakens. The silence of deep space was broken by an alarm that had never sounded before. On Observatory Station Prometheus, stationed at the edge of the Andromeda Spiral, Chief Scientist Dr. Yelera stared at readings that should have been impossible. Her four eyes, a trait of her Zephyrian species, blinked in rapid succession as she processed the data streaming across multiple holographic displays. "This cannot be correct," she whispered, her melodic voice carrying the confusion that gripped her mind. The energy signature showing on her instruments was larger than anything in the galactic database. Larger than a star. Larger than a black hole. It was something that defied every law of physics she had studied in her 3 centuries of life. Her assistant, a young crystalline named Nexus, approached with his translucent body shimmering with concern. "Doctor, the readings are confirmed across all sensor arrays. Whatever this is, it's real, and it's moving." Dr. Yelera activated the emergency communication protocol, sending a priority signal to the Galactic Federation headquarters on Centauri Prime. Within moments, the holographic image of High Chancellor Vex appeared before her. The Chancellor's blue-scaled features were marked with the wisdom of countless diplomatic negotiations, but today they showed only bewilderment. "Dr. Yelera, explain what you have found," the Chancellor commanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone who spoke for 1 trillion beings across the galaxy. "High Chancellor, 3 days ago, our deep space monitors detected a massive energy surge from the void sector. Initially, we assumed it was a supernova, but the energy pattern is unlike anything we have seen. The source is approximately 15 kilometers in length and appears to be alive." The Chancellor's expression shifted from confusion to horror. The void sector had been empty space for as long as any civilization could remember. Ancient star charts showed systems there, but they had vanished so long ago that most species considered them mythical. "Are you suggesting that some form of life has been dormant in empty space for millions of years?" Chancellor Vex asked, though his tone suggested he already feared the answer. "Not just alive, High Chancellor. It's moving toward populated systems. Based on current trajectory, it will reach the Zephyrian home system of Kepler 442 in approximately 18 hours. The communication channel went silent for several seconds. The Zephyrian home system housed 12 billion souls across 3 populated worlds. It was one of the most beautiful and peaceful systems in the galaxy, known for its artists, philosophers, and advanced technology. "I am calling an emergency session of the Federation Council," Chancellor Vex announced. "Continue monitoring and report any changes immediately." 18 hours later, the worst fears became reality. The Zephyrian home system simply ceased to exist. 3 worlds, 2 space stations, and countless ships vanished without a trace. The only evidence of their existence was the expanding energy signature of whatever had consumed them, now noticeably larger than before. The Great Assembly Hall of the Galactic Federation had never witnessed such panic. Representatives from 47 different species filled the massive chamber, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of fear. Some spoke in harmonious tones, others in electronic pulses, and still others through shifting colors and patterns. All conveyed the same message: terror. Ambassador Cloaked, the lone surviving member of the Zephyrian diplomatic corps, stood at the central podium. His usually pristine blue skin had turned pale gray with grief and shock. In his hands, he held the final transmission from his homeworld. A brief message that simply said, "It's beautiful and terrible. We cannot stop it. Remember us." "The creature has consumed everything," Cloaked announced to the assembly. "Our most advanced sensors detected it for exactly 17 minutes before our world was gone. In that time, we learned that it is biological in nature, approximately 15 kilometers in length, and appears to feed on stellar energy and matter simultaneously." General Faxer of the Militarist Alliance stood from his designated area, his insectoid form clicking with agitation. "We have already dispatched our 7th battle fleet to intercept this threat." 200 of our finest warships, equipped with quantum disruptors and photon cannons. The assembly waited anxiously for 3 days. When General Thaxter next addressed the council, his usual confident demeanor had crumbled. The creature destroyed our entire fleet in 12 minutes. Our most powerful weapons appeared to have no effect whatsoever. If anything, our energy attacks seemed to make it stronger. Similar reports came in rapid succession. The synthetic collective sent their most advanced eye-control armada, only to watch their machines turned against each other by some unknown influence from the creature. The Psionic Brotherhood attempted to communicate with the entity telepathically, but their minds were overwhelmed by an alien consciousness so vast and ancient that 3 of their most powerful members fell into permanent comas. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, Earth's representative to the Federation, listened to the reports with growing alarm. Humanity had only joined the Galactic Federation 50 years ago and was still considered one of the more primitive species. While other races had mastered energy weapons, artificial intelligence, and psychic powers, humans still relied heavily on kinetic weapons and chemical explosives. What do we know about this creature's biology? Dr. Rodriguez asked during a brief pause in the testimony. The lead scientist from the research consortium, a floating gas being called Whisper, responded with patterns of colored light that translated to, "Our analysis suggests the entity's cellular structure can absorb and convert various forms of energy. Every energy weapon we have tested appears to feed it rather than harm it. Its hide seems to be composed of some unknown material that becomes stronger under energy bombardment." What about physical damage? Dr. Rodriguez pressed. The question seemed to puzzle many of the assembled representatives. Most galactic civilizations had moved beyond physical weapons millennia ago, considering them barbaric and inefficient. Physical damage. Whisper's translation seemed uncertain. "We have not attempted kinetic attacks. Such weapons have been obsolete for thousands of years." Dr. Rodriguez stood slowly, feeling the weight of every gaze in the massive chamber. "On Earth, we have a saying, if you only have a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. Perhaps you have all been using the wrong tools." High Chancellor Vex leaned forward in his ceremonial chair. "Are you suggesting that humanity's primitive weapons might succeed where our most advanced technologies have failed?" "I'm suggesting that maybe they haven't failed because they're too primitive," Dr. Rodriguez replied. "Maybe they've failed because they're too advanced. This creature has had millions of years to evolve defenses against energy-based attacks. But kinetic weapons, physical projectiles, explosives, ramming attacks, those might be completely outside its experience." The chamber erupted into a mixture of laughter, scoffs, and what passed for ridicule among various species. The idea that chemical rockets and metal bullets could defeat a cosmic horror seemed absurd to civilizations that had mastered faster-than-light travel and matter manipulation. Ambassador Krell 9, however, was not laughing. Having lost everything to this monster, he was willing to consider any option. "Human Rodriguez, does your species possess weapons capable of harming such a creature?" Dr. Rodriguez looked around the chamber at the advanced alien civilizations, all of whom had failed to even scratch the monster. "We would like to try." Meanwhile, in the depths of space, the Crimson Devourer continued its ancient hunt. The creature had awakened from a hibernation that had lasted since the galaxy was young. In its first life, it had consumed entire stellar clusters before the prey learned to run and hide. Now, after eons of sleep, it found a galaxy full of new energy sources and delicious complexity. The creature's consciousness was vast and alien, operating on timescales that measured events in millennia rather than moments. It remembered the taste of the first civilizations it had encountered. Their terror, their futile attempts at resistance, their final acceptance of consumption. These new species were similar but different, their energy signatures more refined and concentrated. As it digested the Zephyrian system, incorporating the stellar matter and the psychic emanations of 12 billion lives, the Devourer sensed something new approaching. More ships, more energy signatures, more food. But these new arrivals felt different somehow. Their energy patterns were crude, almost primitive by galactic standards. Yet there was something about them that stirred a memory from the creature's ancient past, a memory of pain, of something that had once caused it genuine harm. The Devourer's massive form, covered in scales that shifted between deep crimson and absolute black, began to change course. Its movement through space created ripples in the fabric of reality itself, bending light and distorting time around its massive bulk. Tentacles longer than battleships writhed through the vacuum, testing the cosmic winds for the scent of this new prey. In the creature's alien mind, hunger and curiosity warred with something it had not felt in millions of years: caution. These new beings approaching in their crude metal shells reminded it of something from its youth, when the galaxy had been wilder and more dangerous, something that had taught it the meaning of pain before it had learned to avoid such encounters through hibernation. But hunger won, as it always did. The Crimson Devourer set course for the approaching human fleet, its massive jaws beginning to open in anticipation of a feast. What it did not expect was that these primitive newcomers had no intention of becoming prey. They had come to hunt. The stage was set for a confrontation between ancient hunger and human determination, between cosmic horror and the species that had never learned when to quit. In the vast emptiness of space, two forces that had never encountered each other prepared for a battle that would determine the fate of an entire galaxy. As the human fleet approached the creature's position, Admiral Thane Voss stood on the bridge of the flagship UES Determination, watching the sensor readings with grim satisfaction. His weathered face, marked by scars from Earth's colonial wars, showed no fear, only the cold calculation of a professional soldier who had spent his entire career learning how to kill things that seemed unkillable. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we're detecting the target at extreme range. It's God Almighty, sir, the thing is huge." Admiral Voss nodded calmly. "Size just means there's more of it to shoot at, Lieutenant. Signal the fleet. Maintain formation and prepare for engagement. Today we find out what happens when an ancient monster meets modern human warfare." The Crimson Devourer had destroyed every force sent against it through superior evolution and cosmic power, but it had never faced an enemy that considered overwhelming odds to be a personal challenge, that treated impossible battles as opportunities to prove their worth. It had never faced humanity. When humanity strikes back, the command center of the UES Determination buzzed with controlled chaos as Admiral Thane Voss studied the tactical displays showing the Crimson Devourer's approach. Unlike the elegant alien warships with their smooth curves and energy shields, the human fleet looked like exactly what it was: a collection of armored fortresses built for war. Each ship bristled with weapons that the galactic community considered archaic: rail guns, missile pods, and kinetic cannons. "Range to target?" Admiral Voss asked, his voice steady despite the magnitude of what they faced. 15,000 kilometers in closing, sir," reported Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen from the sensor station. "The creature is moving faster than our projections indicated. It's also larger than the alien reports suggested. I'm reading closer to 20 kilometers in length." Captain Marcus Webb, commander of the heavy cruiser Retribution, appeared on the communication screen. "Admiral, my gunners are getting nervous. This thing ate entire star systems. Are we really going to try to kill it with bullets?" Admiral Voss allowed himself a small smile. "Captain, our bullets are tungsten slugs fired at 12% of light speed. Each one carries the kinetic energy of a small nuclear bomb. The aliens couldn't hurt this thing because their weapons give it energy to feed on. Our weapons give it physics lessons." Dr. Elena Rodriguez, who had insisted on joining the fleet as a scientific advisor, stood nearby studying the creature's bio-readings. "Admiral, the energy patterns are unlike anything in our databases. This creature's biology is designed to absorb and convert stellar energy, electromagnetic radiation, and exotic particles. But there's no indication it has any defense against simple kinetic force." "That's what we're counting on, Doctor," Voss replied. "All ships, This is Admiral Voss. We know this creature has destroyed every energy weapon-equipped fleet sent against it. We also know it's never faced anything like us. Remember your training. Get in close, hit hard, and keep shooting until it stops moving. The Crimson Devourer sensed the approaching fleet and felt a stirring of ancient memory. These crude metal shells reminded it of something from its distant past, when the galaxy was younger and more dangerous. The creature's massive form began to change, its scales shifting from deep red to warning colors of bright orange and electric blue. Tentacles that could crush battleships spread wide in an aggressive display. As the human fleet closed to engagement range, the Devourer launched its first attack. Beams of pure energy, each one capable of vaporizing an asteroid, lanced out toward the approaching ships. But the humans had studied the alien combat footage carefully. Instead of relying on shields that could be overwhelmed, they had built their ships with layers of ablative armor designed to absorb and dissipate energy attacks. The destroyer Vigilant took a direct hit from one of the creature's energy beams. The outer layer of its armor vaporized instantly, but the inner layers held. Captain Lisa Park's voice crackled over the communication channel. Direct hit amidships. Armor holding. All systems operational. These old mining ship hulls are tougher than they look. All ships, return fire, Admiral Voss commanded. The human fleet opened up with everything they had. Rail guns fired tungsten penetrators at incredible speeds, creating streaks of light across the void. Nuclear-tipped torpedoes streaked toward the creature, followed by conventional high-explosive missiles. Kinetic cannons sent streams of depleted uranium shells at the monster's writhing form. The effect was immediate and dramatic. For the first time in millions of years, the Crimson Devourer felt pain. The railgun slugs punched completely through its scales, creating massive wounds that leaked luminescent fluid into space. The nuclear torpedoes exploded against its hide, tearing away chunks of flesh the size of city blocks. The creature's roar of surprise and agony created ripples in space-time itself. "We're hurting it," Dr. Rodriguez exclaimed, watching the creature's bio-readings fluctuate wildly. Its energy absorption capability doesn't work against kinetic weapons. The physical damage is actually accumulating. The Devourer, ancient and intelligent, despite its monstrous nature, quickly adapted its tactics. Instead of energy beams, it began to use its massive tentacles as weapons, swinging them through space like cosmic whips. One tentacle caught the frigate Defiant, wrapping around the ship's hull with crushing force. But the humans had planned for this too. Captain James Miller activated his ship's self-destruct sequence, turning the Defiant into a massive bomb that detonated inside the creature's grasp. The explosion tore off the end of the tentacle, sending the massive appendage spinning away into the void. "This is Captain Miller to all ships," came his voice over the emergency frequency. "Escape pods away. We hurt the bastard, but it's going to cost us. Give them hell for the Defiant." The battle became a deadly dance of destruction. The Crimson Devourer used its size and reach to devastating effect, but the human ships were smaller, faster, and more maneuverable. They darted in and out of the creature's reach like angry wasps, each attack run leaving new wounds in the monster's hide. Captain Sarah Mitchell, commanding the heavy cruiser Hammer, led a particularly daring assault. "All ships, form up on me. We're going to try something the aliens never attempted. A point-blank attack run." "Captain, that's suicide," warned her tactical officer. "Maybe," Mitchell replied. "But it's also the only way to get our heavy weapons close enough to do maximum damage. All ships, follow my lead and prepare for close combat." The human formation accelerated directly toward the creature's massive head, their ship's armor glowing red-hot from the monster's energy attacks. At the last possible moment, they opened fire with everything they had. Rail guns fired at point-blank range, punching deep into the creature's skull. Nuclear torpedoes detonated inside the wounds, causing massive internal damage. The Crimson Devourer thrashed in agony, its massive form creating shockwaves that sent several human ships tumbling through space. But the humans kept coming. Even damaged ships continued to fight, their crews refusing to retreat as long as their weapons still functioned. Dr. Rodriguez monitored the creature's bio-readings with growing excitement. "Admiral, we're actually winning. The creature's energy levels are dropping, and its regeneration rate can't keep up with the damage we're inflicting. But it's learning our tactics. Each attack run is getting more dangerous." As if to emphasize her point, the Devourer managed to catch the destroyer Vengeance with a lucky tentacle strike. The ship was crushed like a tin can, its hull breached in dozens of places. But even as the ship died, its crew continued to fire their weapons, their final shots adding to the growing list of wounds on the monster's hide. Admiral Voss watched the tactical display with grim determination. They were winning, but at a terrible cost. 7 ships destroyed, 4 more heavily damaged, and they were running low on ammunition. The creature was wounded but still very much alive and extremely dangerous. "All ships, concentrate fire on the head region," he ordered. "If this thing has a brain, that's where it will be. We need to end this before it adapts to our tactics completely." The remaining human ships formed up for what everyone knew would be the final assault. They had thrown everything they had at the creature, and while they had hurt it badly, it was still capable of destroying them all if they gave it the chance. Captain Marcus Webb made a decision that would have been considered insane by any alien military leader. "Admiral, I'm requesting permission to ram the target. The Retribution's reactor is damaged anyway, and I can overload it on impact." "Negative, Captain," Voss replied. "We need every ship we have." "Sir, with respect, we need to kill this thing more than we need to preserve our ships. My crew volunteers for the mission." Before Admiral Voss could respond, Captain Mitchell's voice came over the communication channel. "This is the Hammer. We're also requesting permission for a ramming attack. Our forward batteries are destroyed, but our engines are still good." Within minutes, half the remaining fleet had volunteered for suicide runs against the creature. It was a level of sacrifice that would have been incomprehensible to most galactic civilizations, but it was simply Tuesday for humanity. The Crimson Devourer, despite its alien nature, recognized the change in the humans' tactics. These strange beings were no longer fighting for victory. They were fighting for mutual destruction. It was a concept that the creature, for all its ancient wisdom, could not fully comprehend. In its millions of years of existence, no species had ever been willing to die just to hurt it. Admiral Voss made his decision. "All ships, coordinate your attacks. Ramming vessels will go in first to create openings, followed by our remaining torpedo boats for the killing blow. This is it, people. One last push." The final assault was poetry written in violence and sacrifice. 3 human ships accelerated to ramming speed, their reactors overloading as they struck the creature's head region. The explosions created massive wounds that exposed the monster's brain cavity. Into these openings, the surviving torpedo boats fired their remaining nuclear weapons. The Crimson Devourer's death throes shook space itself. The creature that had survived for millions of years, that had consumed entire civilizations and slept through the rise and fall of galactic empires, died in the cold vacuum of space, killed by beings it had considered primitive prey. As the creature's massive form went still, Admiral Voss surveyed the cost of victory. 12 ships destroyed, countless brave souls lost. But the galaxy was safe. The impossible had been achieved through human stubbornness, ingenuity, and the willingness to sacrifice everything for a cause greater than themselves. "All ships, this is Admiral Voss," he announced to his battered fleet. "The target is confirmed destroyed. We've done something no other species in the galaxy could do. We've killed a legend. Every soul lost in this battle died a hero's death, and the galaxy will remember their sacrifice." Dr. Rodriguez looked up from her sensors with tears in her eyes. "Admiral, we're receiving communications from across the galaxy. Every species is asking the same question. How did we do it?" Admiral Voss smiled grimly as he composed his response to the Galactic Federation. "Tell them it's simple. We brought the right tools for the job. Sometimes the old ways work best, especially when dealing with old monsters." The human fleet limped home to Earth, carrying news of their victory and the hard-won respect of an entire galaxy. They had proven that advanced didn't always mean better, that courage and determination could overcome impossible odds, and that sometimes the most primitive solution was the most effective one. The Crimson Devourer was dead, but the legend of humanity's victory would live forever, a reminder that in a galaxy full of ancient powers and cosmic horrors, the most dangerous species might just be the one that never learned when to quit.